Come on. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of Lucy's Inspiring Stories. Now,
Okay.
today I have the joy of introducing you to a woman whose life reads like a testament of courage, resilience, and reinvention. Born in 1930, Hazel Rathbotham, I hope I said that right, has lived through nearly a century of change. Can you imagine that? Oh, wow. And somehow, with every passing decade, she has grown stronger, clearer, and more purposeful. She began exercising in her 50s with the encouragement of her youngest son. In her early 80s, instead of slowing down, she decided that she was going to devote the rest of her life to inspiring healthy living around the world. And at 88, she published her beautiful book, 88 Keys to Living a Long and Purposeful Life. There you see it on the screen. And at 90, she recorded her own audiobook in her own vibrant voice. So Hazel is living proof that it's never too late to begin again and never too early to reclaim purpose. Hazel, it is such an honor to have you today. How are you?
Thank you so much. It's an honor for me.
Thank you, thank you. I know that you're putting up your book there, 88 Keys to Living a Long, um, Purposeful Life. And so we will talk about how you can get that on Amazon and on several other places also, right? Like eBay, I think, right?
No, it's just on Amazon and Audible.
Okay, Amazon and Audible.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we were. First of all, we wanted to bring your attention to that book because there are 88 keys of living a long and purposeful life. Oh my God. So, Hazel, when you look back at your life, man, which is nearly a century of experiences here, I want to know what moment stands out as the one that shaped the woman you are today.
I think the moment that I found my husband of 27 and a half years in bed with my student who was 23 and he was 49, that made a big difference in my life.
Oh my God. I would say so. Oh my God. What went through your mind then? I mean, I can't think of a more horrible situation. What goes through a woman's mind at that time? Can I pick can I kind of, know that what happened there? I mean, what goes through somebody's mind at that point?
It was 1977, and I had realized that they were having an affair, and so I decided to follow them.
Uh-huh.
The next time he left town, he was go out of town. He was the Alpine Kiln uh, factory representative, and he claimed he had to go to these various places. And I thought, does he have a woman in
Yeah.
every place? I hadn't thought about the fact that he could be taking her with him.
Yeah.
But when I realized that was what was happening, I borrowed a car, disguised myself, and followed him 150 miles. And when he checked into the motel, I happened to have a friend that lived there. And I went to their house, changed my disguise, and went back to the motel and told the motel owner that he said, "What do you want me to do?" I said, "Just give me a key to the room." And he said, "Well, are you expecting any problem?" I said, "Well, no, he carries a loaded 45 with him all the time, but he won't have time to use it." And he said, "Whoa, I'm calling the police." I said, "Go ahead. I already called them and they told me they wouldn't come unless he shot me." And I thought, what good is it going to do? How could I call them when I'm laying there dead on the floor? So I said, "Go ahead." And I was very nervously pacing the floor because I changed my disguise. But, and I thought he might come out of the room, but he didn't. And so we went to the door, and there was the chief of police and his deputy, and the motel owner and his wife, and my friend and his wife. And we were all at the door. And the police said, "I think we just will let two people in." So I had given my friend a camera. So we just opened the door and went in, shooting all the way,
Oh my
but just
God.
with a camera.
Oh my God, but was that, I don't know if that's sweet revenge or what. I mean, that story in
And,
itself is so funny, Hazel. I think you should tell everybody they should make a movie out of this.
and so she pulled the cover up over her and I yanked the cover off and I said, smile, you're on candid camera.
How
And
funny.
she
Oh my
pulled the cover back up and
God.
I said, I need a good picture of you. And in the meantime, he was laying on his elbow and he pointing his finger at me and saying, this is your fault. And I said, of course, everything's always been my fault. You can just tell it to the judge. And
Oh my
when I
God.
went, took the key back to the motel owner, he said, lady, you're the calmest thing I've ever seen. He said, I expected there to be crying and yelling and all kinds of things happening, but you're just as cool as a cucumber. He said, I said, I've shed the last tear I've ever shed over that man.
Oh, well,
So he
well,
said, if you need any witnesses, I'd be glad to testify for you.
oh, wonderful. So you had no problem with the divorce, of course.
Oh, heavens, no, no.
He was embarrassed into that and probably forced into it before he even considered it anyway.
Well, I never did show the pictures to anybody. They didn't ask for them, so I didn't show them.
Well, someday somebody's going to want to make a movie of that because that's a wonderful story. I love that story. Oh my
This last summer, I happened to get this girl's, she's now 70, um, get her address and phone number, and I wrote her a letter and said, you know, I was bitter for a while, but now I'm writing to thank you because God knew I would never leave him. And so he decided to use you as the instrument to take him out of my life.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm very thankful for that.
Did she respond?
No, she has, at the end, I said, congratulations on raising your family. And if you'd like to chat, here's my phone number.
Oh,
But I haven't heard from her. But it made me feel good to be able to do that. The other thing that made me feel good is when I realized last January, a year ago, that he was a narcissist. I didn't know there was such a thing as a narcissist. And the counselor that I had gone to told me that I was the most brainwashed person he had ever counseled in his life.
wow, wow, wow,
I
wow.
and I didn't know I was brainwashed. When people are brainwashed, they just don't know it.
Yeah.
And but I felt just like Scarlett O'Hara when she was out pulling up the last of the carrots when she went during the Civil War, went back to her home, Tara, and found her mother gone and her dad deranged. And she was kneeling down and she said, God be my witness. I'm never going to be poor again. That's exactly the way I felt.
Oh, wow. What a good story. I'm so glad I asked you about this, Hazel. But I mean, it was laughable, but it's sad and it's
Yeah,
comforting and it's rewarding in so many ways. So, well, let me get back to talking about you. And I want to talk about you because you began exercises in your 50s, right? Hold on a minute. I have
correct.
trouble with
Yes.
my throat today.
Oh, yes. I was about 52 or something like that.
So,
I had exercised a little bit here and there, but never done it as a lifestyle. Never, it was always just for a little while to lose weight or something like that, but never really did it as a lifestyle. So my son told me that you need to do it every single day. You know what the best exercise is? The one you'll do.
the
That's
one,
the best
what?
exercise.
The one you do?
The one you will do is the best exercise. It
Well,
doesn't,
so that means getting out of bed.
whatever exercise it is, the one you will do is the best exercise.
Good.
So he told me, like you said, I needed to do 40 knee bends, 40 sit-ups and 40 push-ups every day, and then do 10 minutes of cardio, jumping jacks and running around the room, and make it 20 minutes. And he said, if you'll do it every single day, I don't mean Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I mean, every day. You'll still be able to do it when you're 80. And he said, you don't skip a day. You do it every single day. Just get up 20 minutes earlier and do it before you start your day. So that's what I did, and that's what I still do.
And I remember reading something about the whole thing started when you were sitting with him one day and you stood up and your knees cracked or something.
And what was that?
Your knees cracked.
Oh yeah, we
And
were
then he
we're
said,
at
"Oh,
church.
Mom, you're too
Yeah,
young," or something. That was a
yeah,
telling moment,
yeah.
right?
We were at church, and when the sermon was over and it was time to stand up, that's when my knees cracked. And I didn't even notice it. And he whispered to me and said, "Is that your knees cracking like that? You're too young to have this happen." I wasn't feeling very young since my husband had taken off with a 23-year-old
Exactly, exactly.
and about 5 years earlier than that. And I wasn't feeling very young. But he
Emotionally, that's totally devastated. That happened to me, so I kind of know your story a little bit. Not so traumatic, yeah, and I didn't react dramatically or as cool as you did. Maybe,
well,
you know.
I knew he would never admit it. I knew he would never admit that he had done anything. So I knew I had to find him with her. I knew that would be the only way.
So you knew him well enough. So, well, let's go back to you. Now, in your early 80s, you made a decision to surprise to that surprises many people, I think, because of your age. You committed the rest of your life to inspiring healthy living around the world. Now, what sparked that calling at that stage of your life? I mean, you were 80.
I was in my 80s and my friend called me and said she had something I needed. And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "It's for your health." And I said, "Oh, I don't need anything. I exercise every day and I take vitamins."
Mhm.
And eventually, she said, "Well, vitamins are chemicals, and our bodies don't know what to do with chemicals, but they know what to do with food. And this is just food. And I want you to try it." And I kept saying, "No, no, no." And finally, one day she said, "Well, I know you must be pretty healthy, or you wouldn't be able to do all you're doing," because I was teaching 50 to 60 students a week, and they came twice a week,
Wow.
once for a private lesson and once for a group lesson. And those group lessons I turned into a little party on the weeks that had a holiday like Halloween or Valentine, or I would make goodies from scratch and serve them and make a little party out of it. And they were asking me, what is in this? Is there any flour in this? Is there any butter in this? Is there any
Yeah.
sugar in this?" And I thought, what a thing for children to ask.
I
I
know.
would have never thought about doing that. I would have just scarfed it up
You
and that
I,
was
you just
it.
ate the cookies. You didn't care. I mean, you just knew. Yeah, but we trusted. We trusted everybody then. We certainly
Well, and I,
trusted our
and I
parents.
made everything. I made everything from scratch. I didn't buy anything,
Yeah.
and and I realized they were allergic. So after my friend said to me one day, she said, "I know you must be pretty healthy, or you wouldn't be able to do all you're doing." Because I was officer in 3 music organizations besides teaching all of my students, and we had festivals on weekends, and I was just so busy. And she said, "But how long do you think you can keep up that pace?" Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
That's what got me. I didn't know how long I could keep up that pace. And I thought maybe I better listen to her. When I did the first week that I took it, I was regular for the first time with my bowel movements without having to take anything.
Wow.
And my hands were warmer. They had been very cold in the winter.
Wow.
And I had more energy. And I thought, maybe that's what's wrong with my students. They're allergic to everything. Maybe it's their diet. So I started sharing it with the parents that would listen, and the ones that got on the product could get off their allergy medicine in 1 month.
Oh,
And
wow.
wow, I've got to tell more people about this. And so I kept doing that. And 2.5 years later, I decided I just didn't have time to teach anymore. I needed to spend the rest of my life telling people how to be
About this.
healthy.
Right. How
So
to be
I
healthy.
was about 86, and that's all I've done now is these last few years. Now I'm 95. My mantra is I'm 95. I take no medication. Everything works, nothing hurts. And I've decided I would rather eat my vegetables than to become one.
I love
So I just tell people that
That is so
my
cool.
job is to educate people and let them know how important it is for them to get fruits and vegetables. Because our doctors, we have thousands of doctors in Juice Plus, and they say there's no human ailment that cannot be helped with fruits and vegetables.
Oh, wow, you're right about that. I know that much. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't say that it will cure any particular disease, but
Keeps us healthy. Yeah.
yeah, but the gentleman that lives here at my house came in about 2007, and he was over the road trucker, 18 wheeler. And his last job, he had several different jobs during the time he was during that time. And the last one was to drive from here in Denver to Kansas City twice a week. And he
Okay.
said he was taking his life in his hands every time he made that trip because those winds across the prairie in Kansas would just whip his truck back and forth across the highway all the time. And he said, I think I'll just go ahead and retire. And he was turning 64.
Oh, wow.
And then he did retire, got his first Social Security check, and then he got sick. And I took him to the ER. They called me in as a personal consultation. It happened to be on my birthday on April 1st.
Mhm.
And when I walked in the room, there were 4 women doctors in the room. And they said, you have metastatic cancer. It's inoperable. We want to know what you want to do for your treatment.
Wow.
They gave him 3 choices, the last of which was do nothing. And he said, that's the one I want, do
Oh.
nothing. When they walked out of the room, I didn't know what they'd told him, but what they told me was that he wouldn't live more than a month.
Mm-hmm.
I brought him home from the hospital when they released him a couple of days later and told him, you don't need to worry about anything. You've got your Social Security you can live on, and you can live here as long as you want, but you're not going to pay rent anymore because you helped me so much. I just want you to be comfortable. So I brought him home, started eating on Juice Plus. Guess how long ago that was?
I don't know.
6.5 years
And
ago.
he's still alive.
And he's still alive. And now he is my chauffeur, my butler, my housekeeper, my
Oh,
gardener.
how wonderful. Another wonderful story. Oh my
It's just
God, Hazel.
absolutely wonderful.
Unbelievable. Now, Hazel, because of time, I know that, I want to ask you one thing. If you could leave one message, one legacy thought for future generations, who will never meet you but will feel your influence, what would it be?
I would say read the Bible, go by it, trust in God, and listen to what he has to say, and take care of your body. The Bible tells us to take care of our bodies.
Right.
No, we should take care. We shouldn't do things that are going to hurt our bodies. Don't start smoking. Don't do any of those things.
Yeah.
Just take care of your body and listen to what God says.
Right. Wonderful. Your life reminds us that purpose is ageless, really, and that resilience has no expiration date either.
That's right.
And that transformation is always possible, whether it's the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, or the 90s. And
That's right.
so, you've given us hope, strength, and a beautiful invitation to live with intention because that's what you do. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your light with us today. I just want to tell the folks, remember her book is called let's see the book again. It's called 88. Oh, it's upside down. 88 Keys to Living a Long and Purposeful Life. Go to Amazon and get it, or go to Audible and get the audiobook because it's her own voice at 90.
There,
So,
I was 90 when I read it. That's right. I
absolutely.
thought it would be difficult, but it wasn't. And I hope I put the right emphasis on the right syllables.
I love you. You are a scream. It's so cool to be with you and spend this time with you. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Hazel. And I know that I'm going to stop the recording. I hope you stay on because I'd love to talk to you a little bit more.
Thank you, Lucy. It was been a pleasure.
Okay. Let me stop the recording.
Person